And usually they had to board with us.
Oh.
And walk to school with us.
Your mother had a boarding teacher.
Yeah.
One of your teachers boarded with you in Oceanview?
Yes.
Oh.
There was one teacher boarded with us. She was from Glace Bay.
So she came all the way from Glace Bay to teach in Oceanview?
Pardon?
She came all the way from Glace Bay to teach in Oceanview?
Well, yes, she'd come once a year, but she'd board with us. She'd find a boarding house and she'd go every day or every month. She'd walk every day to school, and she'd probably get home once a month. And there was another guy, his name was...
Oh, that's okay. So how big was
He lived in Glace Bay.
Well, she's thinking of Wesley
West
Clark.
Louisbourg.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The last time I saw him, he came to my husband's wake.
So
Wesley Clark.
Wesley Clark.
Yeah. But that wasn't Oceanview, Mom.
He was a teacher.
Yeah. Mom, what would happen when babies were born or when people died?
Well, if babies were born, my mother was the midwife.
Oh.
And she went from one end of Oceanview to the other. They'd come in the night and pick her up if there was a child to be born. And I still know them. One of them was...
all the children?
Conda's daughter, Rose
Yeah, Rose
Casagrande.
Casagrande,
Oh.
yes. My mother was the midwife when she was born.
What was your mother's name?
They lived down at the shore between us and the Rittmeyers.
What was your mother's name?
She was... Stephen Campbell was my father. But my mother was Charlotte Landry. She was French. Before she was married, then she was Charlotte Campbell.
Okay. So
they called her Lottie.
Oh, okay, sure. What year were you born?
1915.
And you were born in Oceanview?
I was born in North Shore, Gabru's Bay.
Oh.
Yeah,
That's where we lived on Campbell's Hill.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. So it's Gabru's?
That was right on the north shore of the Gabru's Bay.
Deep Cove.
Deep Cove, okay,
She
right.
was born, you were born in Deep Cove.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How big was your family?
Pardon?
How big was your family?
Well, we were 8 altogether, counting. There were twins, the first births were twins, and one boy died. So there were 7 of us besides him. So we were 3 boys and 4 girls. And the last one of my sisters just passed away this spring. She was living in British Columbia.
Okay.
She was born in 1929. I was born in 25.
15.
My sister, Margaret Newton, was born in 17. And my brother, Joe Campbell, was born in 1919. And my sister, Kathy, was born in 1922. And Mary Mackenzie was born in 1925. And then Teresa was the last. She was born in 1929.
So would you go to Kennington Cove and...
Pardon?
Would you go to Kennington Cove and Gabru's a lot? Like, would you walk? You say you would walk there. Walk to Kennington Cove?
We walked to Kennington Cove. And we walked to Gabru's. But we'd have to have a horse and sleigh to go to Louisbourg.
Mom, you used to stay overnight with your friends in the McIsaac's, Angus and
Oh, yes. Angus McIsaac's grandmother and Angus McIsaac's mother and my father were first cousins. And his nieces would come out to keep company with the old lady. And the nieces wouldn't feel like staying alone. So we would go down to Kennington Cove and spend weekends, sometimes weeks with them. And that was Kay Curry from Glace Bay and her sister. But her sister got married to a Thomas and she's passed on. But Kay Curry is still living.
So people from Deep Cove would be in Kennington Cove a lot? I mean, a lot of friends, you had a lot of friends in Kennington Cove.
You know where the McIsaac's lived in Kennington Cove?
No.
You don't have any idea?
I came along after all this happened, so I
knew the Bagnalls in Kennington Cove.
Mary Bagnall?
Huh?
Like Mary Bagnall?
Mary
Yeah,
Bagnall.
okay. Yeah.
And there was another Bagnall.
Ellie Bagnall, perhaps? Yeah.
John Bagnall and Alec Bagnall.
Yeah.
Alec Bagnall had 2 children. And there was no school in Kennington Cove.
So
That was when my children went to Old Town to school. So they had a private man take his car and drive the Bagnall children from Kennington Cove to Oceanview.
No, to Old Town.
But it wasn't Oceanview, it was West Louisbourg.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was Gary Peck.
And that was Gary
Yeah.
Peck.
Yeah.
He drove the children from Kennington Cove to West Louisbourg.
And that was right up until the time of expropriation of Old Town.
What?
So he would keep driving children to school from Kennington Cove to
Yeah, he'd go to Kennington Cove every morning, pick them up, bring them down, take them back in the afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many students? How many?
There was, how many were from Kennington Cove?
Huh?
How many were from Kennington Cove, Mom? Was it just Laura and
Her brother.
her brother?
And Murdoch's children.
Right.
Oh,
Murdoch
Walter.
McGinnis had children.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
And they were picked up too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you go to Fort Louisbourg when you were young? I know Fort Louisbourg, Old Town, on the fortress site.
Pardon?
Fort Louisbourg. There was homes on Fort Louisbourg too, up until 1928.
Do you remember when the people from Old Town lived over on the fortress site? Remember Mary Pope and all of those people? No, I guess not Mary. Some houses were over on
the fortress side.
Yeah, do you remember
Their
that?
parents. I don't remember the actual, but they were moved over to the West Louisbourg, and their houses were destroyed. And then in 1960, we had the second, what do you call it?
Expropriation.
Expropriation. And we all had to move out of West Louisbourg.
How did you feel about that when that happened?
Well, we all felt terrible because we lost our homes. We didn't lose ours, we moved it 7 miles down to the town in Louisbourg. Water.
I'll go down and get you some ice.
That's good.
Do you know about these?
Oh no! Oh, the passes.
Yeah.
They gave passes to everyone that was expropriated.
Yeah.
What's this?
That's the pass that you have because they took the house out of Old Town.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
good, dear.
So how were you told about?
Pardon?
How were you told about expropriation? Did the government tell you that you had to leave? Did the government tell you that you had to leave? And how did they do it?
Well, we woke up one morning and there was a notice in the newspaper. You are now residents of the national park. And even if we wanted to do something with our property, we couldn't do it.
Now tell him about the meetings that you had with Mr. Butler.
Huh?
Tell him about the meetings you had with Mr. Butler.
Oh yeah, we formed an association, a homeowners association, and we had meetings from house to house, but they didn't come to anything. And Mr. Power, that was Father Gerald's father, he got very agitated when they explained where we could have new homes and we could have better homes. We could improve our homes by building in our basements and sleeping in them rather than having a no good basement. So Father Gerald's father got up and he said, "What do we want with sleeping in cellars? We got good homes now, and we'd like to keep them." But that didn't come to anything.
So
Mary Pope spoke up and she said, "We all love our homes, but if we have to go, well, we have to go."
So they thought your homes weren't good?
Pardon?
The government thought your homes weren't very good?
We thought.
No, the government thought your homes were not good. Is that the way they thought?
Yeah, the ones that were good enough to move, they moved them. And they didn't give us a worth of them.
How much did
There were people with old homes that were very, very good homes. And they paid them about $8,000. And then there were people who lived in trailers, and they gave them brand new trailers. So there was no comparison between an old home and a new trailer.
Yeah.
But Mary Pope and Jim had a beautiful home, and they moved it. Yeah. They moved it nearer to the old fortress site.
Yeah, down. Yeah, it's right by the reception.
Yeah. Remember, where John Hardy lives, the one in. So it was it's not a very good time then. It was not a very good time.
Pardon?
It was not a very good time when. It was not a very good time when you were told this. It was not a very good time for you.
No, it wasn't. Tom and I had to move the house. We bought the house in Old Town, and we didn't have it long when we had to move it. And we moved it down to close to the railway station.
It used to be Mr. Buckley's home, was it? I thought I read.
Yep.
Mr.
Built it.
And he used to live in Fort Louisbourg, as I read, so as I understand. So
he was one from the first.
Tell him about Tom Buckley building the house that you were living in.
Oh yes, my house was built in
1929, maybe 1929, 1930, perhaps.
In the 30s.
Very early, yes.
Yeah.
And he was a builder, and he built his own house. And that's the house that we bought.
It's a beautiful,
and
beautiful
we
home.
We had to move it, and we had to repair it. We spent a lot of money on it. And then the government gave us $10,000. And that didn't even cover. We had to pay to move it.
Oh,
Yeah.
They didn't move it.
But they offered us $10,000 for the house and 5 acres of land.
The barn. The barn.
Huh?
And the barn.
The house and a barn, and we kept cattle. We kept a cow. When the children were young, we had our own milk. And we planted potatoes, and we made hay on the property. There was 5 acres of land, and we enjoyed living in Old Town. And then when the government decided that they wanted our house, it was like, just take your house and go on. We need the area. They wanted it all for public park. And they never did anything with it.
Which made things worse. So when you decided to move the house, did they still give you the money? Okay. Oh. Yeah.
Well, they gave us the money after we moved.
They had to buy their land and move their house.
They had to buy the land that they were going to move to, and also
basement, pay for every wire they cut while they were moving it. Pay over.
The government wouldn't pay for that.
No, government get $10,000 to do with it
That's
what
it.
you want.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, go build a new house or take your house and do whatever you want.
And they were told by the newspaper? They weren't told, no, they never came to their house and told them?
No, I think that they did come. Mom, did somebody come to your house to talk to you when you were first told to move?
Mr. Butler?
No, they came and took pictures of every house, but they didn't tell us anything. They just took pictures.
Well, did Mr. Butler used to come and visit all the people?
Well, yes. And he'd question us.
Was that the first
about
way?
What time we had moved there and how we liked it and that.
Yeah. He was the government man.
Yeah.
Who
Bill, what was his name?
Was it Bill Butler?
Bill Butler, yeah.
So that was the first way that they found out?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And later on it was in the paper.
There probably were articles in the paper, but officially they were notified personally.
So they knew it was coming, but
Yes.
the first file was in the paper first before they were...
I think probably, I'm not quite sure on that, but yeah.
So that's my remembrances of 1960s.
Yeah.
But my memory goes back further than that.
Yeah. So how did your mother was still alive in the 1960s?
Yeah.
Okay. So
my father died in 1945, and my brother was killed overseas in 1945.
Okay.
He was with 1st Canadian Paratroop Battalion, and he drowned in Germany.
Oh.
England.
And then in 1957, my mother died.
Oh, okay. Before
But I waked her at our house in West Louisbourg, and I buried her in Glenmyra.
No. She was waked at Grandma's, Mom. Tell him about when Grandma took the stroke at Huey Ellick's.
Oh, yes. She used to go down to look after the old lady, Huey Ellick Wilson's mother.
In Kennington Cove?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh.
And she used to leave her house. She was living alone in our old home at
Deep Cove.
Deep Cove. And she'd go down to Huey Ellick. Huey had come with the horse and wagon, with the horse and sleigh, and pick her up and take her down to help him look after his mother.
Okay.
And one day I got a call from Huey, and he said, "It's your mother. She can't talk." And I said, "Okay, we'll get there as fast as we can." But it was the 15th of February and a blinding snowstorm. So we picked up Dr. Mosier, And him and Tom shoveled at the line where you leave Louisbourg and go to Kennington Cove. At the main line there where you cross over.
That was a lot
And
of
the
trouble.
snow was
Oh,
too
yes,
deep.
yes, yeah.
They couldn't get through. So we all went back home, and Tom called Donald Beaver with the track excavator.
Okay.
And we slowly got through. And we got her in our van. We had a van. And we got her in that with the help of all the men who came to help Huey. And we got her to the hospital at 4 o'clock in the morning. When we were leaving the hospital,
That's in Sydney?
we met Dr. Mosier just coming in, and he stayed with her all night. And she died of diabetic. She was diabetic.
What year was that?
And she died. She was in a diabetic coma.
What year was that?
1957.
Okay.
Well, she got sick in February 15, 1957. And she died on the first day of March.
How old was she?
64.
Oh, young. Yeah.
She was too old. She never got the old age pension. She was a young woman at 64.
So who still lived at the home in Oceanview?
Pardon?
Afterwards, who still lived at the home in Oceanview of your family? Yeah.
No, she was living alone at that time with my brother Jimmy. Jimmy Campbell.
Who lived in Grandma's house after?
No, after we visited it a couple of times, but then they decided it was a nuisance. Some animal may get caught in it. So they decided to tear it down.
Yeah, but that was a lot later. After Grandma died, didn't Margaret live there for a while?
Yeah, Margaret and Alvin lived there for a while.
Her sister and her husband.
Was that at the time expropriation
But
also?
there was an open base, there was an open cellar. And there were a lot of animals around at that time. And they figured they might fall into the holes. So they decided to tear it down. And that was about 1975 or 78.
3 or 4 years ago, we went up, walked down, and found the old foundation of it.
And the well.
Yeah, and the well and whatnot. Yeah. And it was getting pretty grown up. Where the driveway used to go, you couldn't find that anymore.
Okay.
But we tied a white plastic bag on a tree that was growing up where the chimney used to be. I don't know if it's still there.
You know, for a while Tom and I used to drive up there. We could drive right to the house.
Yeah.
But that was short-lived.
Yeah.
It's all grown.
So that was the end of Campbell Hill.
Yeah.
That Margaret was the last person who lived in it. My sister, she was married to Alvin Newton.
So no one lived in the house at the time of expropriation?
No. That property, Mom, when they first did expropriation, didn't they include Grandma's property?
Yes.
Yeah, and then they decided to not include it, wasn't it?
They decided to cut it off at Thomas's.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because there were too many claims going in on our property. Each person had a claim.
Yes.
And by the time they got 5 claims, they just wrote it off. And they stopped at Thomas's.
Yeah.
But they paid Thomas's a little money for their place. And they paid Dan Thomas a little bit of money. And then they went to McIsaac's. And that was the next. And the Kennedys. No.
The Wilsons.
Bagnalls.
So they didn't pay them very much money? Or how much did they pay them, the Thomases? For...
No, a very small percentage of what their homes were worth. They were fishermen. And Dan Thomas and John Archie both made their living by fishing lobsters. And they had a beach. And of course they had a boat and a larger home property. They had barns and buildings on their property. And they probably got $10,000, same as we got for one building.
Okay.
I think they were deciding what market value would be in that area, which would be nothing. Very little.
Okay. Oh. Did they give them a place to live afterwards?
No, you had to find
You
your own.
had to find your own way.
We were on our own once they paid us off.
Oh.
It was as if they'd say, take your home and get out of my way. We need your property.
Yeah.
And Lawrence Kelly was one of them that was expropriated. And he said, if I get up in the morning and found a bulldozer on my back doorstep, there was nothing I could do about it. It was government property then.
Yeah.
So what was the government, how did the government treat you? You didn't feel the government treated you very well?
How did I feel about what?
Did you feel the government treated you well? What was their attitude? Yeah.
Nil.
Yeah.
They had no mercy on us at all. As Mary Pope said, because of besides the value of our homes, we have an attraction. We love our homes. But that didn't make no difference to them.
We don't call it the expropriation of Old Town. We call it the expulsion of the Old Towners.
Oh, yeah. It seems more fitting.
The second siege of Louisbourg.
Yeah.
Can you tell me?
You know, those same people were expropriated twice. Their fathers lived over on the old fortress side, and they were all moved over to the west side in 1928 to 35. And then they were expropriated in 1960, and they had to move again.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was... It sounded as if we were living in Russia.
Yeah. 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 So I read too that you and Tom worked at the school or helped with the school in West Louisbourg?
Well, Tom went to school in Louisbourg. Because he always lived in West Louisbourg.
No, he lived in town. But you mean when he was a trustee of the school in Old Town?
When he was a trustee of the school in Old Town.
Yeah.
We lived in Old Town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was a trustee trying to get teachers and...
Yes.
At the old school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell him about that. Tell him about that.
About getting trust.
Yeah, getting teachers.
Getting teachers. It was quite a problem. They had put an advertisement in the paper, and then you get applications. And once they'd come and see that it was a small area with a small school and no place to stay, they'd refuse to stay. But there was a couple of times that I put more word out send the teacher back and I'll keep him. I'll keep him for whatever he can pay. Because Wesley Clark was a grade 12 student and he was still going to school and he didn't have any money. So I kept him for whatever he could afford. And he stayed with me for a whole year. At the end of the year, he was going home with the man who drove the bread truck from Glace Bay. Manny
McIntyre,
yeah. Anyway, I said to Wesley, "How are you going to get home today, Wesley?" "I'm going to run," he said.
Way to stay in shape.
He was glad to get out. There wasn't very much entertainment in Old Town.
Would you go to Gavroos very much when you lived in Oceanview?
Only for groceries.
Oh, okay.
There was no entertainment in Gavroos.
No.
What would you do for entertainment, Mum?
We'd play cards or go to a local card game. There wasn't even bingo.
How about dances? Were there dances that you could go to?
Oh yes, Oceanview School would have put on dances and what did they call it? Dance and...
Square set?
Huh?
Square set, maybe?
Square sets, and they'd have
Would they have a social?
a pie social.
Oh.
Amby Thomas. Remember Amby Thomas? Do you remember Amby Thomas?
Oh,
Thomas?
yes, I remember Amby well. He was my next door neighbor. He was John Archie Thomas's son.
Okay.
Poor Amby.
Yeah. He was a musician. Did he play at the dances?
Well, no. He only played very seldom.
Okay.
He played for us at home. And he had cousins who were good violin players. They played. But there was McIntyre from French Road who provided the music for dances.
Okay. Yeah.
So Amby would do kitchen parties, would he?
Yes.
Oh.
Oh, sing-songs.
Yeah. He made up a lot of songs, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He made a song about when Hughie Alex's father was going down to Louisbourg to fix